Right. Warning you guys, I am live streaming, so just so you know.
I'm Brent Orrin Hatch, and I'm running for the United States Senate. Thank you for staying. What do you want in a United States Senator? You want a senator who understands that we need to put America first? I learned to put America first from President Ronald Reagan and as a law clerk to Robert Bork. I served as a young lawyer in the Department of Justice under President Reagan. He taught me the importance of being a strong conservative and to always serve with dignity. His presidential slogan was, "Yep, let's make America great again." Ronald Reagan was MAGA before there was MAGA. We were the anti-establishment. When I got up each day, I reminded myself that I was there to change our country for the better and not to be captive to special interests. We worked to drain the swamp, we cut taxes, we cut overburdensome regulations, and we kept the ATF from taking away your Second Amendment rights. Those were great days for America, and I was proud to help Ronald Reagan with problems back then, and I developed the experience and the knowledge to do so again today. Now, in those days, the Democrats were full of hate for America. During Jimmy Carter's presidency, the protesters were burning the American flag in the streets. Today, protesters are chanting "Death to America." I say, God bless America. I've remained a strong conservative my entire life, but how can you tell if I or any candidate is committed to being conservative? Look at their life's work. Candidates always tell you that they're going to do something to fight the deep state. I actually did something about it. I've been personally involved for decades in getting 4 Republican presidents to appoint conservatives to the United States Supreme Court. I personally worked in the Department of Justice as Associate Counsel in the White House as a Director of the Federalist Society to appoint conservative justices. I personally worked on the last 3 with President Trump that gave us a 6-3 majority of conservative justice. They're finally stopping and controlling unelected bureaucrats. Those new judges are going to outlast several presidents. No other candidate has dedicated their life to such a conservative cause. Now, getting things done is hard work. I've learned from great mentors, to get conservative things done, you have to be in the fight. Be in the fight, you have to have a willingness to pull proposed legislation from the far left to being moderately conservative. That's not compromising. That's getting into the arena and using persuasion, influence, your intellect, even friendships to achieve conservative outcomes. If we are ignored, then it's time to stand our ground. The negotiations to accomplish conservative goals is not compromise, it's action. If you will not talk to the other side, the conservative voices will move to the table, and all that's left is liberal voices. Regrettably, some in this race do not understand that. Being self-righteous and no compromise leaves a conservative voice on the sideline and ensures liberal laws. Being conservative, an effective conservative, requires more than talk. Now, I've been asked several times what motivated me to put my hat in this race. 2 years ago, my father passed away. We took him to be buried in a small town of Newton in Cache County. When the motorcade exited off of I-15 at Tremont and headed out, oddly, there was no traffic. I quickly found out why. The road was lined with people parked on the side of the road, standing at attention, with their hands on their heart, veterans. I told my children to etch in their memory, these are the men and women that Hillary Clinton had the audacity to call. In fact, they were our brothers and sisters, patriots, friends, people like you who love their country. That's why I'm here. I will never forget them. If you vote for me, you'll be electing someone who will never forget where I came from, who I represent, and why I'm here. Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Slowly run with that. There he is. Yeah! been an honor getting to know you. You must be exhausted. I'm Jason Walton, a fifth-generation son of Monticello, and I'm a businessman. After college, my wife and I started a pest control company out of our garage, and we've ended up building it into a national company. And it's been my privilege to mentor thousands in pursuit of their American dream. Not only have I never been in politics, but my career has left me with a strong distrust of politicians. And I think it's clear, we all feel it. We know that our answer to our problems is not another politician trying to climb the corporate ladder. We need business leaders. I'm fed up with politicians who enrich themselves, either financially or politically, while they leave our border wide open and saddle our grandchildren with generational debt. It's not right. For example, do you think members of the House and Senate should be allowed to trade stock in companies that appear before their committees? Of course not. Send them home. Hey, I can solve 3/4 of the nation's problems right now. How about you have to run a business with a budget and meet a payroll for 5 years before you ever vote on a federal spending bill? Here's some more common sense. Before we secure the borders of other countries, let's secure our border. And let's investigate the CIA, FBI, EPA, and all the other three little agencies, you know, the ones that make me want to say 4-letter words. And by the way, why are we still in the UN? We should have locked that place 10 years ago, am I right? And sorry, Governor Cox, COVID's over. Mailing ballots to everyone in this state, that's a joke. We want same-day voting with an ID. Make no mistake, we will protect the Second Amendment. It's really simple. Shall not be infringed. Delegates, remember, this is your convention and your vote. Nobody is to tell you what to do. And I want you to know, I pledge to you my life, my means, and my sacred honor in the defense of the Constitution, because the Constitution is more than just a symbol. It's the living document that ensures our freedom. And I'm worried about it because federalism is fractured. The separation of powers is fractured. There's just one final check. It's you, the American people. We have the power, and we have to stand up because we can't afford to be burned again, thinking we're electing one thing and getting another. I'm a political outsider. Nobody has their hooks on me. I can't be bought, I can't be bullied, and I have no sense of political self-preservation. The only commitments I've made in this race are to my God, my wife, my children, and now to you. So please, stand with me together, and we will save America. Thank you.
If you'd asked me 30 years ago when I started my first company if I'd ever be up on this stage, I would have said that you were crazy. I'm Brad Wilson, and for decades my days began before sunrise on construction sites, building homes while raising my 3 children with my amazing wife Jenny. And I've cherished every minute of it. But in construction, there is an important lesson. And the lesson is a house is only as good as its foundation. This is what we actually learned as little kids in church, right? When the floods came, the house on the rock stood strong. And the house on the sand, it washed away. Well, friends, today we face an unprecedented storm led by Joe Biden, Democrats, and even phony conservatives that enable them threatening our country's very foundation. And the question is this: are we going to stake our future on a rock-solid conservative who's tested and trusted to weather the storm? Or are we going to let our country wash away because we are fooled by another phony? And boy, have we been burned before. Politicians sound conservative, but they get to Washington and they sell out before they've unpacked their bags. They forget that they are there to serve us, not to get rich and not to get famous. But here's the deal. I am not running to cozy up to the cronies in Washington. I am running to shake up Washington. Unlike my opponents, I am not a Washington insider, and my campaign is not bankrolled by DC super PACs. My campaign is fueled by you, hardworking Utahns who are fed up with politics as usual. As a builder, I am not going to sit by and watch our house fall. I'm going to get to work, and here's my plan. I will pass a balanced budget amendment ensuring that politicians start to live within their means, pass term limits, and ban Congress from trading stocks so they serve we the people, not their bottom line. I'll purge the woke ideology from the federal government, and I will confirm only conservative Supreme Court justices that will interpret our Constitution the way that our founders intended. And I will secure our borders and stand by our President, Donald Trump. You know what? You know I'll deliver because I've been through the fire. I've been tested and trusted to do it again and again. As Speaker of the House, I passed the largest tax cut in history and the strongest crackdown on illegal immigration anywhere in the country. I enacted constitutional carry, banned men from women's sports, stopped the indoctrination of our kids, and I sued Joe Biden to protect our state's rights and won. My fellow Utahns, though storm clouds may gather, I know that they are no match for the amazing people of this state. Our brightest days are still ahead if, and only if, we send a trusted, tested, conservative fighter who is as tough as nails, who will fight and never, ever give up. I am that leader. I'm Brad Wilson. Join me and we will do more than weather the storm. We'll rebuild our country's foundation rock solid and make America the envy of the world again. Thank you and God bless.
I haven't seen him at all today. I was wondering if I'd see him.
I think I have some good news for you, both as a reluctant candidate and an embedded delegate. I really didn't know why I filed to run. I had originally intended to help Tim Ballard in his campaign, but when he was strangely politically assassinated, I prayed, wondered what I do now, and this was the answer I got, but I didn't understand it. As I got into the race, I saw there was a big problem, that with all the people going to the SB 54 route, that it was going to divide the conservative vote, and the least conservative candidate was going to win. Here's a little graph. There's 40%, and there's probably more than that in an anti-Trump vote, because in our caucus meetings, 43% of the people that came to the Republican caucus voted for Nikki Haley. I figure that's an anti-Trump vote. And
Democrats.
And this is a problem. So I thought one way to solve it was if you could get elected at the convention as a conventional candidate, you would have standing to challenge SB 54. SB 54 was challenged before by Keep My Vote. Went all the way to the Supreme Court, but they said don't have standing. But, like Frank Lyman, he won over 60% of the vote. He should have a challenger, as many of the convention winning candidates tonight. And so as I brought this out, other candidates heard about it. They said they liked the idea. So the good news is, many of them have decided to join in a suit against SB 54. Frank Mylar will be sort of taking charge at this point. Even Mike Lee says he wants to be involved. So maybe in 2 years, we won't have an SB 54. But it's not going to work for this year. So here's what we have to do. In order to beat these odds, one thing is we don't want to elect 2 candidates tonight. We want to elect 1, because 2 conservatives are going to further divide it. So as a delegate, and I've been around with everybody, I've decided I'm going to vote for Trent Skaggs. I should say that I made that decision 2 days before Donald Trump did, so I'm ahead of him there. But what we need to do as delegates is not leave. Oh, by the way, the reason I voted for him, because Carolyn's a great candidate too. But all of Trent's national endorsements are going to help him be on the national stage, be on national media. But we can't leave it to him. What we have to do is, as delegates, we have to walk our precincts, because only half the people in Utah normally vote in a primary. We've got to change those odds. The way no $1 million commercials and trash cans full of glossy flyers can. We have to go and meet them. So, a lot of you I know gave 2 years of your life for God and your church. And I'd like to commit all of you tonight to give 2 months for God and your country. Thank you.
This guy looks more like Abraham Lincoln than Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, wow.
Hey, thank you guys. God bless you for being here at this late hour. This is the miracle of America. May I say that, in fact, question, is America a Christian nation? America is a Christian nation. And in the shock heard around the world, when the armies of the British went to Lexington and Concord, the people that met them were the pastors and their flocks. And America created a moment, and when we were the country, when we were the country of freedom. You got to remember that even today, America is 63% Christian. So, maybe some of you would agree with me that America is in trouble at the moment. Who thinks maybe America's in trouble at the moment? Amen. Who thinks that we have a little trouble with our election and the certainty as long as we're doing electronic balloting? Am I the only one who thinks that maybe electronic balloting is not a good idea? I think that can be changed. Well, let's suppose that America, that we decided, hey, we're going to need some help. We're going to need some heavenly help. The founders, they knew that they needed help. And that was the miracle of America. They were trying to create something that could not be created and had not been created. They wanted a government that had some power, but not all power. So, how do you do that? That has to be done with the help of heaven. Do you know that the #1 book that the founders quoted to each other as they were trying to figure out how to do this was the Bible. And this state in particular is the state most capable, in my opinion, of bringing down the power of heaven and creating a free state, a state where the delegates, where the people really do select their representatives. That can only happen in a Christian nation. A representative type of government is a Christian entity that can probably only happen in a Christian nation. All right, I got 1 minute left. Listen, we need a miracle. And we can do it. If any state in this nation can hope for that miracle and can have that miracle, it would be this one. There are other states in America that have more of a Christian background, but there are no states as religiously active as this one. May I say that if we do exactly as James Madison said, where we put our trust in Heavenly Father, we fear Him, and we look to Him for deliverance, we can have a free state. And if our state becomes freer, other states will copy what we are doing. Let me just say this. There is a way for us to recapture much of the freedoms that we have lost. That is possible. I promise you, if you will send me to the states, to the Senate, I will be a man of faith, and I will invoke the power of heaven and not make Christ. Thank you very much.
This is a big crowd. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being delegates. My name is Josh Randall, running for U.S. Senate on a campaign based on faith, family, and fiscal discipline. It's an interesting thing. When we started running for this race, we were told, if you haven't been in political circles for the last 15 years and you're not willing to spend $1.5 million of your own money or someone else's, then you have no business running for Senate. That's a problem. The establishment way to become a senator is to build political circles and to spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. But I will tell you, we don't persuade the Senate and the House to stop spending by doing what the establishment does. It's not that I can't spend lots of money. It's that I won't. Isn't it refreshing to have somebody who won't spend? It is to me. We need a cultural shift. You can see that cultural shift in the way that we run. Exorbitant spending doesn't positively change culture or people in lasting ways. It simply attempts to buy today's votes with tomorrow's inflation, and I won't do it. Volunteerism, transparency, and example will persuade. And we have to persuade senators in order to make the changes our country needs right now. If you elect someone who doesn't spend, you will find that this is the senator who can finally convince other senators to stop spending. This is the senator who will be able to guide conversation on the Senate floor to make needed changes to the Federal Reserve, to privatize Social Security and Medicare, to move Medicaid and food stamps back to the states. This is what I do, personally and professionally. I comb through legal language, and I audit the financial commitments. I'm an audit manager and a CPA. Most people don't want to do this type of work. It's not glorious. And some of them don't know how, and they don't believe it's possible. But major change is possible if we elect people who refuse to follow the establishment. Do you want a senator who spends his time fundraising, and spending money? Or do you want one who spends night and day to work with 535 senators and congressmen to fix our federal budget, and listens and works with you, the people of Utah? I love our state. You don't need to be worried about my experience. I will be all over the budget, insisting on getting involved in appropriations, the budget committee, the finance committee. I'm not going to stand by. It has to happen. Energy, healthcare, immigration, foreign conflicts are all tied to that budget. This is our work as holders of the purse, to balance the budget. Send a CPA and an audit manager to the Senate to do it. I will bring consummate professionals to my team, medical people, nuclear, military. We will cover the bases and we will be up to speed immediately. We will waste no time. We will go right after the big issues. But the budget expert will be the one on the Senate floor. I have a stop sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Family.
No, I got my phone was falling out.
God's family. Thank you.
Your message is clear. Trust is broken. Trust in institutions, trust in government, trust in the judicial system, and yes, trust in your politicians. I hear your doubts. Does it even matter who we put up to bat? Can anyone hit it out of the park? It seems like everyone is willing to fight for a win, but can anyone deliver a win? You've heard the naive and eager promises today. Elect me, I'll end wasteful spending in Washington. Elect me, I'll fix the broken border, as if all it takes is a good speech. I know it feels good to hear the promises, but let's be honest, you're tired of broken commitments. Many have questioned why I chose to enter this race. The weeks spent away from home, the ceaseless back and forth flights, sleeping in my office, all to confront the pervasive decay of Washington, D.C., where the dysfunction runs so deep, we can't even keep a speaker. As you know, it took me a long time to decide if I would seek this office. Before I was willing to ask for your support, I had to know myself if I could make a difference. I believe in the greatness of this country, in the brilliance of the Constitution, that one person can change our nation's trajectory, but our interests are aligned. I am no more willing to waste the next 6 years of my life than you're willing to squander yet another term on someone who simply can't deliver. I had to know that I could be different. Substance, not hollow echoes. I stand before today having scrutinized myself with the same unwavering gaze you cast upon this crowded field of candidates, and here's what I saw. I have solved some of Utah's most difficult public lands issues, transferring more land from federal ownership to the state than anyone in the state's history. As a result, protecting access for grazing, recreation, and all uses in perpetuity. I have rallied Congress to strike down regulations that were suffocating our small businesses. You know this. I've been so successful pushing back on the Chinese Communist Party that they've issued a warrant for my arrest in China. I've led my colleagues in changing the worldwide narrative that fossil fuels are a problem to be eradicated. Utah's natural resources are part of the solution, not the problem. I'm the only one standing before you that's not only cut taxes, but reduced a government budget. You witnessed my accomplishments as a successful business owner, as a decisive mayor, and as a member of Congress who constantly delivers. If you send me to the Senate, you know what you'll get. Better energy policies, making us not just energy independent, but energy dominant. Innovative solutions to and end wasteful spending, unyielding resistance against foreign aggression, vigorous legislation safeguarding our access to federal lands. Now picture this. It's the bottom of the ninth inning, and fans are starting to leave the stadium. With 2 outs, all out to the bench. Who do you trust to step up to the plate? Who possesses unwavering focus to keep their eye on the ball, undeterred by distractions? Do you choose the rookie fresh from the minor leagues, the newcomer yet to don the uniform, the eloquent speaker? No! You choose the proven player, the one with the track record of hitting it out of the park time and time again. I'm asking for your support, not because I believe I can make a difference, but because I've done it. I'm John Curtis, and I ask for your vote.
Thank you. I am a convention-only candidate, and I appreciate you delegates for still being here at 10 o'clock at night. Thank you. Let me tell you, I lived in the former Soviet Union right after the wall came down, and I experienced with the people there the hope of newfound freedom. And here we sit today, watching a stunning reversal in America. More restrictions, more oppression, and more control. And most of us would just like to return to the United States of America. The inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that are granted by our God and protected by our constitutional structure have made this nation great. And we are all here today because we love this country and we know that its best days lie ahead. But the work that is needed to get us from here to there will not be painless, and it is not inevitable. It's going to take a whole lot more than blustery rhetoric and political talking points. It will require serious people who understand that some things are complex and other things are simpler than most politicians want to make them. Like a $34 trillion debt, completely unsustainable. The interest alone will destroy us, and it really is not complex, it's common sense. President Trump's strength brought us 4 years of no new wars. I care about peace. Biden has brought us war in Ukraine, surrender in Afghanistan, aggression from Iran, attacks on Israel, Chinese saber-rattling, invasion at our southern border. The list is as long as it is horrifying. And experience tells us that while we must have a strong defense, we cannot spend all of our resources on wars of choice. We simply cannot afford it anymore. We cannot allow America to become vulnerable, and that is exactly the position we are putting ourselves in today. We all understand that government is not the solution. You are. Our current government wants to fix everybody else's problems before they fix the problems that they created for the American people. You can help change that today. You have a voice and you have a vote. Government-driven inflation is hurting every single family I know, but too many Republicans keep voting to spend us into oblivion. Mike Lee said no, along with just a few others, but we need more like him. Utah's influence is diluted when we have 2 senators who vote against each other, and when I am your next U.S. Senator, I will vote most of the time with Senator Mike Lee, my former boss. By the way, kicking the can down the road has worked for our elected officials for the past 40 years, but it's never worked for the American people. I'll tell you, I'm the mother of 5 mostly grown boys. That's a conversation for another day. But my children deserve better, and every one of your children deserves better. And let's be honest, this state is better than Washington because of our culture, our strong and stable families, undergirded by a faith and a belief in God. Thank you, Carolyn Pittman, for U.S. Senate. Thank you.
And now I've been blessed to live the American dream. But this American dream is in jeopardy for my children and yours, because we've been led far too long by a group of out-of-touch elites and big money interests who try to prevent everyday Americans from being elected. That's why I committed on day one I would not gather signatures and circumvent you, the delegates. Because of us, everyday Americans will drain the swamp. Because of us, everyday Americans will render the DC establishment obsolete. Let's send the message to DC establishment that we, the people, everyday Americans, are the rightful rulers of America. And by electing me here today, we're ready to send a warrior to DC that will tear them down and return to a government of, by, and for the people. Thank you, delegates. May God bless you and may God bless America. Thank you.
Like they say, last the best of all the game. Thank you kids for hanging in there with me this late, and thank you delegates as well. My name is Chandler Tanner. I'm running for U.S. Senate. It's been a privilege to get to know you over the last weeks in your town halls, virtually and in person. Thank you for your service. I was raised in Orangeville, Utah. My grandpa was a coal miner in the mines of Carbon and Emery County. When he was a young father in his early 20s, he was involved in a terrible accident at work. A coworker who didn't clean up properly for a smoke break lit himself on fire. When my grandpa tried to help him, the man panicked and pulled both of them into a pile of coal dust that exploded like a bomb. My grandpa had third-degree burns on 75% of his body, and it was expected he'd die. But he didn't. Following a lengthy recovery with scars on his face and body, he went back to work in those mines to work out a livelihood for his wife and young children. His example of grit, determination, and refusal to quit instilled in me a belief in the American way, and I have greatly benefited from his sacrifices. One thing he taught me was the value of education. As I grew up, he told me that even though we needed good men and women doing the work that he was doing, he didn't want me to be in the mines. Instead, he said, go and get as much education as you can. So I did at BYU, where I studied business, worked hard, and learned that hard work gets rewarded. From there, I went to Harvard Law School, where I earned a law degree and learned that you shouldn't be in politics until you don't need to be in politics. I also had the chance to earn a master's degree in history from Oxford in England and spend time in Europe. In Utah, we think a building from the 1850s is really old. At Oxford, they call that modern history. I learned firsthand that the American experiment is still to succeed. For me, it has been a success. Years ago, I returned to Utah and helped start an education technology company that promotes childhood literacy. What started in a garage just south of BYU campus has grown to a great company in which we've sent over 1 million books to families around the country and provided us literacy software to hundreds of thousands of students, educators, and families around the world. My educational opportunities and business successes have allowed me to enter this Senate race at a time when I don't need to be in politics. However, I think that for the past 2 decades, I've been gaining experiences, knowledge, and credentials that will help me be in for our conservative Republican values. And I think now more than ever we need people who are not career politicians, who are not in politics to line their own pockets or look out for their own interests. In fact, when it comes to describing the state of DC politics, I think Chris Ledoux said it best. We've got too many fools making too many rules. And though I'm hopeful for America's future, I think we have some tumultuous times ahead. We face historical threats, including a cartel-controlled border, a staggering national debt, and growing foreign threats that are challenging American democracy around the world. In North Korea, Russia, China, Iran, and nations in Africa now, where we see the truth that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. We need a serious course correction. Many delegates have asked me if I support Donald Trump. I do. We need a Republican president to cut back against the slide to socialism that we've seen in the last 4 years. But my loyalty is to God, to the Constitution, and to the Republican principles espoused in the Utah Republican platform. When my grandpa passed away a few years ago, my wife and I were able to buy his home and return to our small town with our family, where we're raising them with the same values my grandpa taught me. To work hard for your family, sacrifice for your neighbor, and love your country. Please support me in the Senate race. Chandler Tanner for Senate.
The kids are the best. They're so cute.
Cute family. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Thank you, candidates. We're going to post the 2 codes one last time. That was for the national delegates of the presidential electors. And for anybody who has not done that yet, we will give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes to cast your vote for that, and then they will be closed. We're putting them up on the stage. So the 2 numbers, the first was 9638 was the passcode. The next one was 647. And if you've already done that vote, you're fine. You don't need to do it again. This is just for anybody who has not done either or both of those yet. You have 2 minutes. We will then close that, and we will open our first round of balloting in the United States Senate race.